55.6 says the set-off on the entry tax would be like, it would be treated as any other tax and it would be subject to all the restrictions and prohibitions with the other tax held. Therefore, the question would be, if the goods are brought by paying entry tax, same goods are transferred back to the branch, then whether the retention will apply or not. In view of 55.6, the retention will apply. Of course, there is, as per this section and rule, both the retention will apply. The main challenge is still pending, but this is a pure reading of law. And let me thank the person who has posed the query. He has given the answer also, purchase price and all those things. Purchase means purchase within the state and all those. Yes, I agree to everything. But when this section is there, specific section for and also for the rule, you cannot go beyond. Yes, sir. Correct. Pure. Oh, that is fraud transfer. This is pure retention. Yes, pure. I'm sorry, pure retention. The same retention. All the 55.6 rule says all the prohibition restrictions to the normal tax would be applied to input tax, entry tax also. It is, if you are right, but that would be subject of challenge to the High Court. The law as it stands today, you cannot do anything. As I said, it's a matter of High Court challenge, but as it stands today, this is the position. Now the next query is regarding the solar power system. Query number 8, it's also a long query. Now the question is, solar power generating systems. That is one of the entry in the notification A56. Now the query is, the person is buying inverter, cable, batteries, junction box, monitoring system, CCTV camera, etc. under the for manufacturing. So we presume it is purchased for manufacturing solar power system. But the query at the end, if you see, they say the seller doesn't know that this is being used for solar power system. So he has charged 12.5%. All these items, inverters, cable, battery, junction box, monitoring system, they all can be used as a normal hardware also. They can be used in any other machinery also. So the person is, the supplier is charged 12.5%. The buyer is using for solar power system because the goods notified and its spare parts, both are exempt from payment of tax. So the query is whether there will be forfeiture in the hands of the supplier who is charged extra tax. Practically, there are two solutions. Number one, the person who buys must write to the supplier and give him a sort of certificate or a confirmation that the goods supplied by you are used by me in solar power system, generating system, and that is why no tax is charged. He may give him the credit note, or this man can raise debit note. Either way, this is one. Secondly, forfeiture will not be done unless the department is able to prove that the goods he has supplied are used in solar power system only, because the person, seller, when he sells the goods, he doesn't know where it is being used unless he is told. So the question of forfeiture will not come in that case. The next question in that is whether the tax paid on purchase is liable to forfeiture is no. Also whether ABCL is entitled to set off on the tax paid on purchases. Yes, he would be entitled to set off on the tax paid on purchases. As you say, that he has resold tax-free goods. If that is the way you want to prohibit the exemption, restrict the set off. But in my position, in my view, when he sold, he has sold the C scheduled goods only and not the A56. Because that is what the admission here is. Is that the question? Tamara Shashra? They are sold as a solar power system. But then your query says that ABCL may not be selling so and so as spare part of solar system. Correct, correct. no tax is charged on the sale. No, then you don't get set off. You have to give him debit note and collect the tax back. You will not get set off. You have purchased tax-free goods and sold tax-free goods. As you say, yes, the supplier charges 12.5 or 4% or whatever percentage. He sells it as a tax-free goods. So when he purchases also, they remain tax-free. He should actually collect the tax back from the buyer. I understand that, but there is no remedy to it. I know, but then unless it is a very big amount, there is no litigation possible in such case. Seriously. Otherwise, it is good to argue that when I sold or purchased, I mean, I don't think when the supplier, if his supplier is a manufacturer, he must be a reseller. His supplier also must have charged the tax. They are the manufacturer, then they should have known these are solar power parts. Correct. So why is, he should have sold inclusive of tax. No problem, then there is no question of charging the tax, etc. Yeah, biogenerating plant. Yes, biogas plant. Any other question?
Biogas generating plant. Now, as a manufacturer, I clear the transformer manufacturer as a transformer only under the excise. Now, the issue is, do I have concessional rate of tax or exemption available to me as a manufacturer of transformer, whereas the original owner, let us say NTPC, who has awarded a contract to Siemens, Siemens gives to ABC. Siemens will give a certificate saying that I am going to use this thing in the final installation, so you do not charge any tax to me. Do I, as a manufacturer of transformer, can we take recourse to this and do not charge any tax thereon?
When you sell the goods, if the buyer gives a certificate.
But how? Where is the support? Or any
No, there is no form prescribed. There is no form prescribed. I agree. For the use, there is no form prescribed also. But tell me one thing, CCTV camera is not required strictly for the solar power generating system. One of the
their taxes are being charged to the buyer also.
yes. So one of the question is
Yeah,
CCTV.
And I am talking about transformer.
Transformer, yes.
I mean, let's look at little
So Rajat Bhai, the issue is when you sell, if you know it is being used for biogas plant or a solar power system, you may take a confirmation from the buyer and charge no tax.
No, I mean, let's understand the practical part. 2 crore rupees of single transformer. Tomorrow, the department is to deny me as a seller of transformer. Siemens is not going to ask me or support me anything. They will say everything today. In the class explanation which they give to me, tomorrow will stand by you, we will pay you with tax, etc. All said and done. Let's be very clear. Today, I do not have any procedure or any legal support from the Act and rules today. How do I
Nothing.
go about
Yeah,
it?
you are right.
I have written to the commissioner.
Yes.
It is more than 7 months, no reply is received.
Yes, because they cannot give. I'll tell you very frankly, there is no machinery provided under the law to prove the use. You will find so many entries with the use. Now there is no machinery. There is one Supreme Court judgment which says that on the basis of use you cannot classify the goods also because it is impossible of compliance. But in any case, if I want exemption, if the Siemens says I am not going to support, then charge him. It is he who has to
They
get
say
the
this is
system.
all, I mean, this is all ultimately civil.
Correct.
So what will happen is, today Siemens says this thing because we have a tax manager there and he is to support you. Tomorrow, after 3 years, you do not know what will happen.
Yeah, very true. That is possible.
And besides that, we had similar
two uses, but if the buyer says these are the spare parts of the solar power system I'm manufacturing, then they also cannot go behind that certificate. Unless they prove that he is not manufacturing. That's all.
Ultimately, it becomes a commercial power rather
It's
than
a litigation, little litigation possible. But there is no, there is no clear remedy as such.
Next up.
Thank you. Sir, so many circulars he has to issue. We should sit down and draft everything what we want to. Thank you. We have represented so many things. Thank you, sir.
Query number 9, levy of interest under section 32. This is an interesting query. The date of submission of VAT audit was getting extended by the court. Court and thereafter followed by the circular issued by the Commissioner of Sales Tax. Now, 2-3 times it got extended. It is not that important. What the Commissioner has written in his circular, every circular, right since 2006 when it was first extended, no legal action will be taken against the dealers who abide by the above mentioned revised deadlines. Deadline is extended and it's saying no legal action will be taken against the dealers. Now, Mr. Shroff is saying that no legal action includes action for levy of interest also. No doubt, all of us know that is so far as no legal action, it pertains to section 61. But we know it. We know it because we know what was the subject matter. However, it is not mentioned anywhere in the circular. However, in this one, in 14T, yeah, so that even you can take support of that circular, say where they are saying about penalty, here they are not saying anything about it, but that your interest is now, thereafter, now this assessment 2005-2006, they are assessing it now. At that time, that section 85, B3 has been amended and interest has, they have been made unavailable. Now he has two ways. First is whether that amendment has a retrospective effect or it is prospective. And secondly, if it is prospective, whether my appeal against the same is maintainable. And thirdly, if it is maintainable, whether I can take benefit of that, what the Commissioner of the Sales Tax is saying. TAI TAR 5 Management Institute versus CCE Mangalore. CCE is Commissioner of Central Excise Mangalore. It is reported in 29 STR 577. You will get it in ELT also. I couldn't find it in ELT. So that is you will get it in ELT. 29 STR 577. Now so far as lease, that is dispute, it starts with return suit. The moment you file return, despite that whatever now opinion which is being expressed by the Sales Tax Department about section 23, the moment you file the return, you get a right of appeal, which is granted by the statute, of course, but you get a right of appeal. That dispute starts from the, you get a right of assessment also. You get a right of assessment, and if assessment is not there, appeal. Now, this particular amendment which was brought in the 162/2010, it has affected, it is substantial amendment, and it has affected your right which you had when this took in 0506. Therefore, it has a prospective effect, appeal is maintainable, but you don't have to worry. it's a very good point. And the stake is also around 50 lakhs. So we can afford to contest even up to Supreme Court. Contest. Thank you. One second. So it is, how much is the stake? See, why we are asking. Now see, these litigations are also, they are becoming too much costly. It's very, very difficult for an individual. Now you see these builders, that FCIJ must have spent not less than 1.5 crores on this till today, 2 crores. 2 crores has been, and again you have to come back to ABCD. That is what the position is. Therefore, see, normally you see only 2-3 companies, L&T, then another that ECE, that is also another company of L&T group, and the Tata. Tata is also nowadays, you don't find, I'm sorry, I have to cut. बात करते हुए तेरा नया फ्लैट में लेके जाएगा अच्छा है स्टील वालों से वो अच्छा है I'm not trying to read, but Ajad Construction is a civil contractor following composition scheme and paying tax at 5%. He makes purchases from Sonia contractors and claims set off after claiming reduction under Rule 53(4). Sonia Contractors is filing form number 233. Department is disallowing such set off, assuming that the purchases are of movable property, and hence Rule 54G and 54H apply. Kindly explain the implications of Rule 54G and 54H in such transactions. Also further explain what are the implications if Ajaz was a normal dealer filing 231 claim set off. Say, don't ask such questions. We should file 233. Even if we file 231, it doesn't make any difference, but we should file 230. Now see, legal position is very clear. 54G and 54A, both of them, they don't apply in such cases. Because he is a contractor, 54G and 54, one thing you bear in mind, 54G and 54H apply only if the transfer of property is to yourself. If the transfer of property is to third party, they can't apply. In no case they will apply. But you keep aside that plant and machinery. Only in those cases, these things apply. So there, but at the same time, I know, because I've seen, I've filed appeals. In number of cases, these officers, they don't understand. They don't understand what is employer. They don't understand what is works contract. And they are straight away rejecting the such setup. That is absolutely wrong in law. And now I am going a step further and saying that. Now see, after this L&T judgment, the builder and developer, he has also now stepped into the shoes of the contractor. And he is now same thing. Now, of course, these rules were not prescribed for them, but then they'll have to be interpreted so as to apply to them. Assuming that developer is, so far as works contract in that agreement is concerned, developer is the main contractor and all these are subcontractors. This is what is the legal position. And 54G, 54H will have to be applied accordingly. Now, so far, see, you read that judgment carefully. They are saying transfer of property to third party. Now, the employer may be customer in this in such cases. Employer may be the customer. Builder becomes a main contractor, and contractor becomes a subcontractor. This is what the legal position. Thank you. Next.
Yeah.
Question 11. Babita designers are manufacturers of designer garments. They sell ready to stitch and not ready-made garments to the customers. They are selling it as tax-free goods, assuming it as fabrics. Also, all the designer clips or buttons or brooches or patches are attached to the garment. Babita ji is confused as to the taxability of the product, as she has received different advices from different consultants. Kindly advise her for one more confusion. where it is ready to stitch. Now whether it remains fabrics or not, that is the basic issue. If it remains fabrics, it can be accepted. But along with that, there are also passing of clips, buttons which are not really fabrics. So either you have to segregate those two things. One way you can see that designer whatever cut stitch means ready to stitch can be still said to be fabrics because it is not in the final form. But then having buttons accepted with taxable commodity, somebody will take a view that is now it is falling under E1 etc. So better you do two segments, one sell as a fabric pieces and another one as a taxable commodity. Then only will be out, otherwise difficulty will be there. So confusion should not. The limit to which is button तो अभी जाए ना once you charge it consolidated, which is also consist of some taxable items, definitely not remain fabrics. Question number 12. Only embroidery we can say it is still remain fabric because it doesn't change the nature of the goods. सेल कर देता है, that will save you.
ये इशू कब आता है जब सर्वे का ऑफिसर जब डोर टू डोर सर्वे करता है ना, तो दैट डीलर बीइंग अ क्लॉथ मर्चेंट इज नॉट रजिस्टर्ड, सो ही इश्यूज नोटिस दैट दिस आर द टैक्सेबल गुड्स एंड ऑल दैट यू आर लायबल टू बी रजिस्टर्ड. सो वी आर arguing that it is not taxable, it is still a piece of fabric, it's tax free.
But here there are something more items are there.
We have to bifurcate.
Hello. Putting the jerry on fabric, and fabric is very expensive. That is coming under B or 105. What is the treatment?
The stitching will not make a difference in the nature of the goods, remains fabrics. I think it should go as a fabrics. No, but then fabrics after that designing or whatever jerry work is done, still it remains fabrics.
No, I think a pre-hair or a minor processors includes what
Embroidery.
is embroidery. So one would say that the concept is that after embroidery also
Still
fabric
remains
is fabric.
More. Next, Mahavir Tailors purchases stationery and consumables locally and then branch transfer the same to their various branch offices all over India. No records for such transfers are kept in books of account. They are carrying out centralized accounting and hence all these expenses are recorded at the head office itself. Kindly advise us as to whether Mahavir Traders can claim full set-off on such expenses or reduction under 53 has to be taken. Now friends, once something you have purchased here and you are claiming set-off on that, then due to the branch transfer, reduction will apply. Further, if reduction has to be taken, how do we calculate the amount of reduction as it is difficult to identify? Also, is Mahavir Traders complying with the requirements as per Rule 55? What is difficult in Rule 55? Fall into concealment. 59. Rule 59. 59 says, Rule 59 is relevant for this. For the purpose of Sub-Rule 1, Sub-Rule 1A, Clause 8.2 and Sub-Rule 3, that is our branch transfer, any reference to the corresponding goods on the purchase of which set-off is claimed shall be construed in relation to any period starting on or after 1st September 2005 as a reference to the corresponding goods, not in that consumable category. Here, consumable goods and consumables in the manufacturing where you are using. Now, if you say consumables, my station is getting consumed, that is why it is not covered because of this exception, then different matter, but I don't think that is available. Which are sold of the value of the goods inclusive of any duty of excise as it appears in the books of accounts of the goods dispatched as aforesaid, and the sale price of other goods shall be applied for deciding the corresponding purchase price. So take that value of the goods for the sent and your other sales and take out the ratio.
See, you know, cases go to larger bench. Even in division bench, members differ. Supreme Court reviews his own self. In opinions, we may differ. I have my opinion, he has his opinion. Yesterday I have supported it. See, basically a simple thing. When I am buying stationery, other than bags, even gift articles, when I distribute it free in the state of Maharashtra, there is no intention. No pressure, no time, because everything which is debited to, as you say, debited to profit and loss account, they are giving me full setup. Now, if I have centralized office here, and then head office here, I am making centralized purchases and sending it to all my branches. The rule which is applicable for branch transfer, you are applying to those goods which are debited to profit and loss account. Therefore, I am saying this is that rule which applies to branch or regarding branch transfer. It is only for those goods which are subject matter of further sales. This is what the here we can discuss freely. In Mumbai, it's very dangerous to discuss that because departmental representatives, they remain present in the conference. So that is one. Now already IPCA laboratories DDQ is there. In my own case, and I challenged it before the tribunal. Fortunately, the stake is very high, very high. So if tribunal negative, will be reaching further also, going further also. So,
this is point number 13. Jethalal is an architect carrying on the interior designing work and interested for the work of designing at Chennai. To Mr. Iyer, who is running a software consultant firm, whether Iyer can issue C-form. Now you see, issuance of C-form depends on number one, he should be a registered dealer. The further question proves that he is a registered dealer. Suppose he is not a registered dealer, then he cannot issue C-form at all. That is the first and foremost. But presuming he is a registered dealer, then the question is whether he can give C-form for interior work. Now C-form, we all know, can be used for sale using manufacturing network, computer network, etc. Capital assets, there are cases when the C-form is allowed because the possibility of sale is there. Now, in case of, then the further question is, if instead of office it is a factory. Now, if you are having furniture as a plant of the factory, then they are using manufacturing, like say some table for manufacturing line or etc. Then you can always issue C-form. Then a omission of certain transaction, the chartered accountants also will have to be very careful while certifying that he has missed this. It's very difficult. Because he gives a certificate that he has verified all the books of account, and if he has missed something, then you need to be very careful while giving a certificate also that certain transactions you have missed, because then probably, they can call you also for more clarification, etc. So ideally, typing error, punching error, all those things are totaling mistake. They are permissible mistake which you can mention, but there is something which you need to be careful as a chartered accountant by giving the certificate also, omission of certain transactions. Now, presuming the CAs are not willing to give any supporting evidence, then what do you do? See, audit report is not binding on the assessor. The question would come when he would be assessed. Now, if he is not assessed, and if he says, no, I am entitled to more refund, etc., then he will have to invite the assessment. Otherwise, he cannot, if he has filed the return, as per him and the CA doesn't agree, then he will be assessed as per return, if at all. But suppose there is no assessment also, and he is wanting more refund, then he will have to approach, or maybe he will have to file the revised return showing that there is an amount refundable. But suppose there is a real mistake and for some reason CA is not available for giving the correct certificate, you can prove from a books of account also. These are all the practical things where you have to find what you can give, what best evidence you can give. CA is not available, you can give your books of account, you can file your affidavit, you can have some other CS certificate also that he has verified and has found it. But of course, under the law, there is no revised 70. You will have to go by other methods. Thank you.
I don't think auditors will be responsible for omission of transactions.
Correct. That is why I said you have to be very careful.
Basically, auditor is not entering into the transaction. It is the client or dealer
Who has to show.
who might not have given true disclosure even
I
to the
agree.
auditors. So it is a very serious mistake on the part of the dealer, and no audit report should be revised or it should be admitted by the auditor that there is
I
an
said
omission.
it is a serious thing you need to consider twice before giving.
It all depends on the agreement, that the way this is drafted, it may amount to worst contract also. Because see, no one gives anything free, and laptop, 50,000, maybe 15,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees.